Hi, I'm Lauren Green, and you're in the strategy room. Third-party presidential candidate Jill Stein pushed for a vote recount in the state of Wisconsin, which will begin early this week. And former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's campaign team announced over the weekend they would join the efforts. Well, this comes after Clinton's concession speech where she insisted America band together behind President-elect Donald Trump. What message does this give, and could the recount matter? Joining me now, professor at Iona College and strategist at Applied Economics, Jeannie Zaino, and the vice president of the Manhattan Republican Party, Brian Morgenstern. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Brian, let me start with you because I'm sure you've been watching this. I mean, Trump has called this ridiculous. It's a scam. What is your take on this recount effort?
It is a scam. It's a effort to build a fundraising list, and a very effective one at that, I might add, because they raised millions of dollars and over the course of just a couple of days, and have increased the goals subsequently as they've smashed their previous goals.
Right.
Look, we're not talking about close margins here. It's 10,000 votes in one state, 20,000 in another, 70,000 votes in another. Recounts generally produce some a little bit of disparity.
But not enough to make a difference in this.
And it's not going to happen. This is a fundraising list building effort that is a scam, and it's hypocritical considering the fact that the Democrats leading into the election were hammering Donald Trump over the head, saying you have to accept the results of the election.
Yeah.
Well, now the shoe's on the other foot, and you know, here we are.
Yeah, you know, Jeannie, it actually gives them an emotional outlet for people who are just trying to clamor at something to hold on to in the wake of the election. But Clinton's campaign stated that they have very little hope for success in this, and that it's mostly to verify that hacking by Russia had not affected the results. What message does this send that Clinton is joining the Stein effort?
So the Clinton team obviously had stayed away from this for a long time while this discussion is going on, and as you mentioned, has just announced that they will join the effort. But I would, suggest that there is a real question here in many people's minds, because there's only two possibilities. One is that the polls were very, very wrong, and the other is that something went dreadfully wrong at the polling box or in the ballot box. And this is something that Donald Trump himself talked about before the elections, and the Democrats poo-pooed it. And now that the Democrats are talking about it, Donald Trump has come back just over the last 24 hours and said, you know what, there was a mishap going on, and it undercounted my popular vote.
But he can't have it both ways.
He can't have it both ways. And so, I think regardless of the motives of Jill Stein and the Green Party, and I agree, there are a lot of motives that you can attribute to this. The reality is we have a serious problem in this country as it pertains to our ballot box. And the big problem is in those counties in which we have electronic voting machines without a paper backup. And that is where the problem lies, because mysteriously, Hillary Clinton's count in those places was low, according to people who have looked at those numbers. So do I think it's going to change the election? No. But I think we all should hope that we get to the bottom as to what actually occurred, and we fix it before the midterm and before the next election. That's in all of our interest.
Brian, Wisconsin, Trump leads by over 22,000. Michigan, I think they're still counting, but I think they're going to verify that today. About 11,000 he's got ahead. Pennsylvania, advantage of like 70,000 votes. They really can't undo that. There's in the history of recounts, there's never been an overturn of that many votes, and Hillary's got to win all of them in order to come out, and actually change the election results. So, what is really happening here? And I want to read you a quote from Jill Stein. You talked about this, 2.5 million in 24 hours, now the goal of 7 million. She said, quote, integrity efforts and, quote, promoting voting system reform, this is what they're going to actually use the surplus for. What does that mean to you? Integrity efforts and, quote, promoting voting system reform.
That's about as mushy a goal as I've heard for any fundraising effort. And this is something that they had to come up with after they realized they raised a lot more than they initially asked for or thought they would need for this. But look, the White House has come out and said, in terms of the Justice Department or any other federal agency's observation of this election, they have no reason to believe that it wasn't free and fair. And so apparently they did float this idea of a recount. People emoted out of their pocketbooks into Jill Stein's coffers, and now they're saying, holy cow, we have all this money, what the heck are we going to do with it? And so they're just finding a justification for all this money that they've raised. But in reality, we don't have any evidence to suggest that anything went wrong here. And so like I said, they're just finding a reason for it at this point.
Jeannie, I'm actually speculating on this, and this is totally off, the wall. You know, could the Clinton campaign have put up the Jill Stein, the Green Party, you know, to do this because their hands were tied because of the statement she made before the election?
It's possible. I think it is highly unlikely because Jill Stein has been famously at odds with Hillary Clinton throughout the campaign. You know, anything is possible, and I agree with you. And in my own mind, I've speculated about all of the ways in which this could have come about. I think the reality is that Jill Stein is somebody who wants to disrupt the status quo, very much in the same way that Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders and others want to. And she is incredibly frustrated by the lack of movement in this area of, you know, what we can do to fix what she sees and many people see as a troubling sign at what's going on in our ballot boxes since 2000, if not before. And the one thing I would say about the money is that, you know, the FEC controls how that money is spent. She can't spend it for her party. She can't spend it on campaigning. It's got to be spent in a way that's approved by the FEC. And I think that's something that journalists are going to have to hold them accountable to, because I agree, it's a lot of money they've raised, and you need to watch how that money is spent. It should be spent on what she's talking about, which is election integrity. That's got to be defined, because it's a broad thing, but it's a widely needed area that is not addressed in this country because it's so much money is required to address it.
Okay, I want to thank you so much, Brian and Jeannie, for being here. And for complete political coverage, stay right here at foxnews.com. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.